Alright guys, so Ninja Andrew here, and today I'm going to be taking a look at my PvP loadout for gadgets. So to start out, I've already respecced at the respec station here, and I'm just going to go through all of the abilities and load them out. So we're going to start off in tactics. I'm going to start off with Taser Pull as my power over time, because this is a controller PvP build. And that's going to give us the electrifies power interaction as well. So that's going to electrify enemies, making them vulnerable to electrified power interactions. So we'll remember that for later. As this is a controller build out, I'm also going to purchase the defibrillator move here, because that's a necessity to pump power out to the rest of the team. I have to have that in my loadout. And I'm also going to purchase the battle drone. This is not 100% necessary, but this is going to allow me to get down further in the tree, and I can use this for dual purpose, which I'll talk about later. So going further down the tree, we have next Cryo Foam. And Cryo Foam, as we can see, inflicts burning on electrified enemies to cause damage over time. So since we've already electrified them with our first hit, this one's going to inflict burning on them as well. It also is going to inflict frostbite on them, making them vulnerable to freezing interactions, as well as burning or electrified enemies will explode. That's a lot of power interactions for one move, considering that this move is also the controller debuff, so that I can debuff enemies' ability to heal. So he grounds the target and reduces their ability to heal. So I need that as a controller for PvP as well, to prevent the healer and tank from being able to fully take advantage of healing effects. More useful in dueling, but it's still a necessary move for this entire combo to work, so I will be keeping that in my loadout. And then I'm also going to go here with the Cryo Field, which, in addition to Cryo Foam, also inflicts burning on electrified enemies to cause damage over time, inflicts frostbite to make enemies vulnerable to freezing effects, while frostbitten enemies may be rooted or encased, so this may put them into blocks of ice, or it may root them to the ground. And burning or electrified enemies will explode. And explode means it'll knock them back and do some damage, just in case anybody's not familiar with what that power interaction means. So I'm going to purchase that as well. We also have here Fear Gas. Fear Gas I don't actually need, even though it says that it has burning and electrified power interactions. This is a DPS equivalent of Cryo Foam. The difference being that Cryo Foam has more power interactions, as well as it's a controller debuff that you need to have for PvP, whereas this one does not have the debuff. It's a little bit stronger damage-wise, but that kind of makes sense because it's for the damage roll. So I'm just going to purchase this so I can get down to Gauss Grenade, which is actually important for me once again because this electrifies enemies. So in addition to my Taser Pull, I'm going to have another move that electrifies them, so that I can then burn them and explode them and frostbite them with those two moves. So it's sort of these two, the Taser Pull, Gauss Grenade, Cryo Foam, and Cryo Field all kind of work in conjunction with one another. And Gauss Grenade is also really good because it reduces enemies' defenses. That's going to make them easier to kill. So who doesn't want that for PvE and PvP? So that's all the moves that I need from this particular tree. Normally, from devices, I wouldn't need anything if I was just building a PvE-centric role with this, but for the purposes of the PvP role, I'm going to work my way down so that I can buy this move here, EMP Pulse, because it works better on electrified enemies, and then it also, if we read here, it says, enemies take heavy damage when EMP Pulse is used immediately after unstealthing, using Distract, or applying 3 different power interactions from the following superpowers. So we have Cryo Field and Cryo Foam, which we are using, as well as we have Gauss Grenade and Taser Pull. So I would imagine that we're always going to have 3 different power interactions pretty much working on an enemy. So this is really a beneficial move for controller PvP. In order to get down to it, I'm going to have to spend some marks on things that I don't necessarily need. So it's a little unfortunate, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. So For PvP purposes, I'm not 100% sure if I can buy this move to get down to here, or if I have to buy one of these three to get down to here and here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to try and buy this one, guys. That's much better. Okay, so now we have an additional damage supercharge, which you could trade in if you want to. This would be much more useful for PvP, but you're not technically going to have room to put it into your rotation, so it's sort of interchangeable with EMP Pulse. I guess you could put it in for PvE if you really needed to. None of these other moves that I have are important to us, only EMP Pulse, because of that extra damage for Electrified plus the power interactions. So I'm just going to go really quickly through here, guys. Stealth is not useful to us because stealth takes too long to pull off, and it doesn't add any beneficial effects to us because the power interactions are made for the stealth loadout, which I'll cover in another video. Battle display could potentially be useful, but this is once again more of a DPS centric ability because it adds the battle awareness power interaction for the damage roll with a bunch of other abilities. Paralyzing Dart, we're not using this because it has the dazed effect, which doesn't do anything for us. Similarly with Neural Neutralizer, this has the dazing effect, not really all that beneficial. Bunker Buster, we're not using this because we don't need to. You do have 3 moves left, or 3 power points left to spend. You could spend them on here if you really wanted this move, but I suggest this for use in conjunction with the stealth combo, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. And I'll just go through the rest here in devices. So we have Intimidation. This is the equivalent to Defibrillator for a DPS, so where Defibrillator throws power out to the group as a controller, this is kind of like a damage buff. A single person to yourself, you'll damage, or you'll buff your damage. And then there's also power interactions with battle awareness, which is part of that battle display that we were talking about from the other tree. So we have holographic decoy. This is not useful to us because it's made to be used in conjunction with the suppressor turret. Ideally, also the suppressor turret is not useful to us because it's supposed to be used with a bunch of other combos like fear gas and the holographic decoy. Anesthetic is, once again, this is a good move for PvP. This isn't if you want it though, because you're going to get better damage and power interactions out of the other abilities. This is really maybe more for the DPS dazing PvP loadout, so that I'll cover in that video. Moving on, we also have Vortex Cannon. This one reduces, it does have an effect for us, reduces the target's damage output and reduces damage roll buffs. We have that move from the other side, just like we have here, reduces enemy defenses. These two debuffs for controller are used in conjunction with the dazing controller loadout, which I'm going to be building in my next video. It uses the power interactions off of this ability. So because it uses dazing, it doesn't give us any beneficial effects over what using those other abilities do in conjunction with each other. Similarly, this move, the Napalm Grenade, is a great move, except it is way more useful as a DPS with the fear gas combo rather than trying to put it in with this one, because you're going to take out something else that you need to do the explosion combos. And then we also have here Photon Blast. This is a great move if you need a ranged hit. I do use this on my dazing controller because I needed a ranged move that would do decent amounts of damage, and this one, when the target gets below 35% health, it deals extra damage. I'll show how that's used in that loadout. It's too expensive to really, like, you could buy it, but what are you going to do with it? You're not going to have a spot to put it in your loadout anyways, so I wouldn't even worry about it. onto iconic powers. Normally I would be buying Word of Power if I was building this loadout for PvE, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of this video. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to go with Weapons Expert to give us critical attack chance. I'm going to go with Tactical Genius to give us critical attack damage. We're building a PvP loadout. You want to kind of do as much damage as possible. And having healing isn't really going to help you, and the amount of defense that this is going to give you is pretty much negligible, as well as health. It's nothing. I wouldn't worry about that. You're not going to pick up anything with super strength to be able to throw it enough to make that worth buying. And being able to see stealth enemies is such a rare thing. Like, that's maybe more useful for dueling, but you don't need it for this. So I'm going to go with Wisdom of Solomon to give myself extra vitalization and power as a controller. This is going to do the most benefit to me. Dominance, it would be okay, but I just don't have the points for it, so I'm going to go with this one instead. So with all of that, I am going to head down to the war room, and we're going to use these and show how they work. Okay guys, so now that we have all of our powers selected, I'm going to put them into a loadout, and I'm going to explain a little bit about why I like to put them into the places that I do. So I'll do this for you guys here. So for my control loadout, I like to have power over time on my R2 trigger, as well as any supercharges or major damaging moves. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to put EMP Pulse into that slot. It's because I don't use it a lot there. Like, it's the move that you use at the end of your whole string of combo. You only use it every once in a while. You don't need to use these moves very often, whereas these four you need to use much more often. This allows you to use your moves much more easily in combat. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to put Defibrillator on my X button. This is because of naturally how you hold the controller. Your thumb is most likely going to be on the X and square buttons. And since the square button is already used for melee attacks, I'm going to put melee attack type abilities on my square. So since X isn't really used for anything, but it's a button that you're going to hit a lot because it's right underneath your thumb, that's where I put my Defibrillator or any other move that you use to buff quickly and constantly. This is like the quick quick cooldown moves. This is where you put them. And then so for square, I'm going to put actually the Gauss Grenade. This isn't technically where I usually like to have a range type move, but because of how it works, I can use it up close and it doesn't matter. So I'll just keep it there. For the triangle, I'm going to put Cryofoam, which I believe... Oh, where did I go? There we go, Cryofoam. And for circle, I'm going to put Cryofield. And this is our entire loadout. This is everything that you need to be an effective controller in PvP. This is group PvP, this is not dueling, but this will help you when you go into your arenas and need to survive and help the team. So I'm just going to go out here and demonstrate the combo. Okay guys, so I tried to do the video in the watchtower, but there were just too many people, so I came to my base so it would be easier to see all of this. So when you come into a PvP match, you essentially have two options for your opening move. Either is just as viable and either has very great power interactive effects with them. So to start off, the most common one is going to be your Taser Pull. That's because it's going to stun the enemy and pull them towards you. Add the electrified power interaction, which you can see on his chest there. As well as it's going to start the power over time tick. So if I use an ability and then I use power over time, it's going to give me that tick. You can see it'll fill up my power bar here in a second. There we go, 271, and there we go. That effect was from the target itself. Your other option for your move is going to be the Gauss Grenade. And that's because it is similarly going to add an electrified power interaction. This time it's in yellow, so you can tell the difference between which one you've hit them with. As well as it's going to, as you see, stun them and put them on the ground. So it doesn't work every time because they have that white flashing invulnerability every other time you hit them with one. But you should usually be able to pull an enemy towards you or stun them to the ground with one of these two moves and add that electricity. So once you've got them there and you've got electricity on them and they're stunned, you're going to add burning. And burning does a damage over time tick that is continuous as long as the burning effect is on the enemy. So this is great because that works really well to add some extra damage on top. So I'm just going to do that combo again here. Electrified, burning. Now I'm going to add in the third hit, which is Cryo Field. That's what an exploding enemy looks like. That's what it means to explode your enemy, is that they go flying back and they take a hit of damage. The reason that these moves are so good in conjunction with each other is that essentially you already have the hit from the damage from the move when you first initially hit them with it, so there's like 300 damage there. I'm going to add a damage over time effect. Actually, I need to generate some power. And then I'm going to explode him, and that field that I'm standing next to him in is also going to do damage to him. So essentially every move that I have here is not only going to do damage on its initial hit, it's also going to continue to do damage and stack the damage with the other moves. And that's what's important, and that's what makes it a good loadout. The only other two moves here that I have are or that I should explain before I go to the last one, is that as a controller you are going to need to throw power over time and defibrillator to your group so that they can stay powered. So you're going to naturally be throwing out power over time, so just remember to throw your defibrillator out so that the healer will have enough power to heal you with. And I'm just going to add in the last hit of this combo together here. So I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm going to throw... if I can get it, there we go. And that'll put him into the ice block, and I'll explain how the ice block works as well in a second here. And so that's the EMP burst that you add on at the end to do some extra damage. You can see it's a larger hit than the other combos that I've done. So when you stack that all together, you're getting the most that you could possibly can out of this loadout for PvP. I know there are other loadouts that are good for other aspects of PvP as well, especially dueling and stuff like that. But I think that this is as good as it gets as far as group PvP is concerned. Now, there's one more power interaction here that I'll cover, and that's if you screw up. So let's say you come into battle and you forget to throw something that's going to electrify and you go directly to cryo fields. Instead of burning the enemy, you can see it's added the frozen effect to his feet. If I combine that effect, I'm going to wait for it to completely stop affecting him. You can still see a little bit. Okay. So if I combine that effect with cryo field, it will almost always put them into a block, especially PvP. They will usually be able to break out of it in a second or so, and you won't usually be able to pick them up. But the combination of being able to stun with nearly every move that you have, in addition to doing damage, in addition to having power interactions, everything else, that's why I have chosen these particular moves for my PvP loadout over anything else that's available. And I think they work really well in conjunction with each other. It keeps the enemy from being able to attack me and puts so many effects on them that they have to break out of, that they just end up using up all of their power just to try and break out. And meanwhile, the damage from the fire and from my cryo field, plus the damage tick of them being in the field, most noobs can't handle that amount of heat all concentrated on them at once, and I just find it to be a very effective combo of abilities. So just before I finish up here, I'm just going to go back into the traits menu here and show one more time. So this is what the abilities were that we bought. We have one extra that we didn't use that's useful to us, which is the battle drone. And that's how you can essentially turn this loadout into a PvE loadout. You would simply replace the EMP, the final ability here, with battle drone. And now it's become a PvE loadout, and you can generate power and charge up your supercharge, and that supercharge will give power out to the group over time. So this is a good PvE loadout. I use this for every single event and instance that's in the game. But there are 3 or so main drawbacks to using this loadout in PvE that I'm going to explain here now. So the 3 drawbacks are essentially that you are never going to be close enough, usually in PvE, to get off cryo field and have it actually be useful, because if I'm standing over here, it's not doing anything to him. It's not going to get the explosions, it's not going to get the frostbite, so we're already missing the damage that this move can do, so it doesn't do anything. Because it's not doing that stuff, you're also not getting as much as you could be out of your other moves that are part of that combination. So if I go into my loadouts here, because it doesn't have the electrified, frostbitten, and burning, because you're not getting that extra one there, it makes more sense to switch those over to the dazing power interactions, just because you're going to be able to hit them from a distance and use more of them. That's just my own opinion, but I used this loadout for everything and then got up to Throne Room, and because I wasn't able to be close up to get those power interactions, I wasn't as effective, and that's why I built the loadout that I'm going to be showing in the next video, which is the Dazing Controller loadout. So definitely something to think about. Also, because of that, because of the combos that you have in with your loadouts, the debuffs that you're using are also the one that reduces their ability to heal, and the one that reduces enemy defenses. Those are 2 great debuffs. That's Gauss Grenade and Cryofoam. Gauss Grenade is the one that debuffs their the shield symbol under their name, so their ability to defend, and Cryofoam is the one that does the hearts under their name, and that means that they don't have the ability to heal. They're great moves, but they're PvP-centric moves. You don't need that healing debuff for every boss fight. There are a couple that you need it for, and I would suggest switching your loadout when you go into those instances, or having an armory that you can swap to that has that loadout in it, because you're not getting as much out of your debuffs as if you use the ones that are from the dazing combination. Alright guys, and the third reason I don't really like this loadout for PvE is because if we take a look here in the traits menu, it's because I've had to buy this ability, the EMP Pulse. Ideally for PvE, I'd rather spend that particular move on Word of Power, so I'll just show you guys what that would look like here. This is my regular PvE loadout. It's the one that I've always used. And if we go on here to the powers, you'll see that I have all the same ones that we had initially, and then if I go to devices, I don't have anything bought here. And iconics, I have all of these purchased, and as you'll see, I still have 3 marks left over, so I can still buy a Word of Power and have 2 left over to do whatever I want. So you can see why I like the other loadout specifically for PvP, and if I'm going to do it PvE, I'm going to make another armory and load it out like this. So I'll just show you guys one more time. Its tactics is like this for PvE, so that you have your supercharge, and then you have the nothing in devices, and you have a lot of innate buffs and bonuses, plus word of power. So and basically what that translates to as far as the loadout goes is that you will use the battle drone supercharge for most PvE, because it is the better supercharge. It's even better than word of power because it gives more even power to the group. But you have the option of changing it out with word of power if the boss is something that you're not allowed to have pets out, because they're going to attack it and, you know, break its shield or aggro it or do something crazy. So you always have the option of switching that out. So just, it's a quick and easy way to take this exact same power interactions, all of the same things, and put them into the PvE side of the game and be able to use them effectively there. So it's good, it'll work, it works for nearly everything in the game, this loadout, but it is just technically better for PvP. That is not to say that you shouldn't use it for PvE. It's totally great, it'll totally stun all the enemies and make it easy for your team to do their job, but just, it's not, in the very high level content, it's not going to quite be as good as it could be to do some of the stuff it needs to do. So definitely consider getting some armories and unloading out even both of the loadouts so that you can switch back and forth, which is what I'm currently doing. So I think that'll be it, guys. Let me know what you guys think of this loadout in the comments, and, you know, give us any tips or advice that you may have from constructing your own loadouts or your own combinations of abilities. And if you guys found this helpful, please hit the like button, it really helps us out, and join us again next time for the Dazing Controller PvE loadout here on DorkNinjaGaming. And thanks, guys. I'll catch you next time.